In his homeland, he enjoys a near godlike status. Great players hail him as a batting genius. He is intelligent and handsome, yet decency and humility are his watchwords. The finest batsman in the world today, Sachin Tendulkar, is one of ESPN's legends of cricket.
This is high in the air, and how far is that going? That's up in the terraces.
Eden Park, Auckland, March 1994. On a seaming wicket, Sachin Tendulkar was promoted to open the batting in a one-day international against New Zealand. He made 84 from 49 balls.
As they're all getting to their feet for one of the great one-day innings you will ever see.
He went out there and just blasted the New Zealand bowlers all over the park. And that's the time the Indians suddenly realized this man can demolish attacks at the top of the order and more useful to the team, more valuable to the team, right up there rather than number 5 or 6.
And he's going through the covers again, and that's another 4. Well, where can this man hit them? He can hit them everywhere.
After that, it was just a sort of gospel. Sachin Tendulkar had to open, and it's just shown what a remarkable player he is.
And look at that, just straight down the pitch. This man is a wonderful player, and we're seeing the best of him today.
Beautiful shot. Oh, awesome.
Tendulkar's technique is the benchmark for modern batsmen. Don Bradman believed that he was the closest thing to himself that he'd ever seen.
The best way to sum up Tendulkar's technique is to go back to what Sir Donald Bradman said about him. And that is that when Bradman was watching him bat one day and he said to his wife, "Come and have a look at this bloke bats like me." And he was talking about Tendulkar.
Sachin Tendulkar to me is the one player in the modern day to rival and even imitate Sir Don Bradman. And so it is a wonderful sight to see him in full flow. Already over 50 centuries in international cricket. He is a player that has no limitations.
Oh, hello. What a smashing shot.
I think he's the best player in the world today, without a shadow of doubt. A small man you see like Bradman, but his footwork is out of this world. Tremendous, so much time in which to play the ball. And again, as I've said about all greats, tremendous balance, and there's a lot to be said for that.
Tendulkar is close to being the most perfect batsman one has ever seen. His back left is straight, his balance is unbelievable, he can play off either foot, he can play on either side, and again, that ability that separates the men from the boys, the ability to hit the good ball for boundaries or sixes.
Great shot. Absolutely smashed it to the boundary.
All out appeal, this could be very close, he's given it.
Tendulkar also influences the game with his skillful bowling and athletic and accurate fielding. But with the bat, he devastates bowlers and dominates games.
That's a crashing shot through extra cover.
Probably the most devastating batsman in world cricket today. He can take an attack apart. Certainly on wickets that are suited to him, he's a destroyer, and I think he's just proved, his record shows that he's probably the best batsman in the world at the moment.
All the things that a batsman needs, Sachin Tendulkar has just got a bit more of those than everybody else has, I would say. A batsman needs to have time. That's the classic distinction between the good ones and the less good ones, is the good ones have time. Tendulkar seems to have all the time in the world. He makes wonderful late adjustments. He's never troubled by sheer pace.
Oh, what a shot. Gore, stand up and applaud. A beautiful on drive. That's what people
He's a very, very good player against spin. He moves his feet beautifully.
Charging and playing it over mid-wicket.
He's probably the best player that I've seen. He just has a genius about him. He can play those shots, that he can play just amazing shots and manufacture shots. it's a great privilege to work with him because he's under enormous pressure in India, and he copes with that on and off the field, and off the field pressures in India are they're significant. He's just very special, and he has a great presence as a cricketer and as a person.
Pulls it away through the onside. He's heading for another one.
Growing up in the cricket-mad city of Mumbai, the young Sachin Tendulkar was drawn to the game after watching India triumph in the 1983 World Cup.
Long back in 1983, I was just 10 years old and I saw India lifting the World Cup. That really inspired me a lot. And I used to bat 5 times a day in the nets, and that really helped me a lot, and I played lots and lots of practice matches which gave me match temperament, because however long you may practice, you need to go out there in the middle and score runs.
Tendulkar began his first-class career with a century at just 15 years of age. He went on to become the first batsman to make a century on debut in each of the 3 Indian domestic competitions.
I think I've been closely associated with the man right from the day his cricket began at the school level. And he was picked up by Bombay. He made his debut at the age of 15, but would you believe it, he was in the Bombay team, which is a strong team in our country, at the age of 14.
Tendulkar made his Test debut at the age of 16 years and 205 days. He faced the challenge of playing Test cricket at such a young age with remarkable composure.
The day he got into the Indian team, he started batting in the nets. He looked so good that everybody knew that this fellow is going to go very, very far. When he was technically sound, he had very cool head on his shoulders. And it was, like the way his body language and the way he behaved, it never looked as if he came into the Indian team for the first time.
Yeah, I was terribly nervous. I didn't know what was happening around me. I thought for a sec it was a school game going on, and I batted like as if one would bat in a school game, which is that particular moment I can never forget, because I felt this was the first and the last Test match of my career.
Struck away down the offside. That's a beautifully hit shot by Tendulkar.
Following his debut series against Pakistan, Tendulkar toured New Zealand in 1990 and made a lasting impression.
Pushing and running, and that will be his 50. Applause ringing out for Sachin Tendulkar, his 3rd half-century in Test cricket, the 16-year-old.
Can you imagine a 16-year-old kid scoring 80-odd in a Test match? I mean, you cannot. That's how good he was. That's how freaky Sachin Tendulkar was and still is. And how, quite obviously at the age of 16, he was always going to become a great player, and we probably haven't seen the best of him as yet.
And he plays a crunching shot square of the wicket on the offside. Might get cut off. No, it's not.
He showed there that, gee, if he's smashing us around at 16, what's he going to be doing when he's 26? And of course now we know. He is simply, I think, the 2nd greatest batsman of all time.
Sachin Tendulkar scored his maiden Test century at Old Trafford in 1990, becoming the 2nd youngest batsman to reach 3 figures in a Test match.
It was remarkable not only for the fact that he was still a teenager when he made 3 figures in a Test match for the first time, but it was also remarkable because it was a very significant innings in that it helped India save the Test match. Tendulkar showed a remarkable degree of maturity and played a really top-class innings.
One for the coaching manual. We're seeing this afternoon the emergence of one of the shining stars of the 90s for world cricket.
Against Australia the following summer, he made 2 more glorious hundreds. The first was at the SCG.
Yes, here he comes. It's great running. Well played. Sachin Tendulkar. His first 100 at the Sydney Cricket Ground. A magnificent knock in good time.
His first Test 100 in Australia came at the Sydney Cricket Ground in the first week of 1992, and I'll never forget it because It was one of those hundreds where you realise you were watching someone special. And it was the youngest, he was the youngest player to score a Test century in Australia. And he did it with a style that everyone who was there knew they were watching something special, and they were very lucky to be there.
Tendulkar's second century of the series was in Perth, on the fast and bouncy pitch at the Wacker.
We played 5 Test matches. He got 200s without a problem and just confirmed his greatness. I remember especially the 100 he got at Perth more than the first one at Sydney, because Perth is obviously one of the quickest and bounciest pitches in the world.
I think the knock I played in Australia on Perth, it was a 5th Test match and I got 114. I think still that's the best innings I've played.
I remember him playing those back foot cover drives at regular intervals, while the rest of the batsmen were struggling to just keep their wickets intact. This boy, young man, was, forget wickets intact, he was scoring runs briskly and without a problem. It's a 100 that is special to him.
Oh, that's a magnificent shot.
By 1996, Tendulkar had overtaken Mohammad Azharuddin as the leading scorer in one-day internationals, in 62 fewer innings than Azharuddin.
He's been the one batsman that has dominated this sort of era, and I think he may go on to dominate eras to come as well, depending on how long he can play for. He's been superb. He's dominated one-day cricket especially.
There we go, and he's hit it straight down the ground for 4.
These days in one-day cricket, I think there's one wicket that bowlers want more than any other, and that would be Sachin Tendulkar.
They've got the scalp they wanted.
He has the ability not only to score very quickly through the fact that he can pierce the field, but also he's very quick between the wickets, an excellent runner, and he has all the attributes to be the very best in one-day international cricket.
And this is 50. Good knock by young Tendulkar.
I think scoring a 50 in every 4th innings, it's a great achievement. He's got more than 10,000 runs, and the way he's going, I think he'll end up somewhere around 17,000, 18,000 runs in one-day cricket.
Gone. Outstanding shot from Tendulkar.
'96 also saw Tendulkar assume the Indian captaincy. He began with an emphatic home series victory against Australia. But by 1998, India was struggling, and Tendulkar's form had tapered off. It seemed as though the burden of captaincy was weighing heavily on him.
It was beginning to affect his batting, and the Indian team also played some difficult matches, and that's the time he was leading. So he was actually very miserable. Some of the guys on the team, they tell me that he was not the Tendulkar of old. When he was leading, he was not having fun anymore. The pressure was getting to him.
Relieved of the captaincy, Tendulkar again found form. Between March 1998 and July 1999, he made 10 one-day centuries and 5 test match centuries. Tendulkar himself nominates consecutive innings against Australia in Sharjah in 1998 as his finest one-day performances.
I think the one at Sharjah, 143 against Australia, that was a tremendous knock. I mean, a game before that he scored 134. The finals he scored 143 and brought victories for India in both those games, and let me tell you, single-handed wins those were. Sharjah wicket wasn't very easy to bat on, and the Australians scored heavily against India. And this little champion goes in and scores those hundreds, that 2 big ones that gave India the victory. I think I would rate those 2 innings as his best in one-day internationals.
Azharuddin was sacked as captain after India's poor performances in the 1999 World Cup, and Tendulkar again took over. Again he began well, but India was overwhelmed by Steve Waugh's Australians. After losing another 2 tests against South Africa, Tendulkar again relinquished the captaincy.
Being a good captain and being a good player are 2 very different things. Plenty of great players have not been great captains, and I think if you were the Indian selectors now, Tendulkar's had 2 goes at the captaincy. They haven't really worked out. They're better to have someone else. Leave him to collect his next 10,000 runs.
At home against Australia in 1998, Tendulkar faced Shane Warne on a turning wicket and made 155 not out.
Warne brings out the best in Tendulkar. People still talk about his 155 at Chennai because he pretty much destroyed Warne. Warne at that stage was absolutely the #1 spinner in the game, probably the #1 spinner in history. It was before Murali really emerged. And it was as if Tendulkar saw it as his personal responsibility to take Warne out of the equation.
In early 1999, India and Pakistan played a test series on Indian soil for the first time in 12 years. After being dismissed for naught in the first innings, Tendulkar was at the crease as India crashed to 5 for 82, chasing 271 to win. He went on to make one of the great test match centuries.
He's a great achiever, you know, he motivates himself. When the chips are down, he can really raise his game, really bring the team up by his individual performance, and that is what his quality is. And that is one reason, you know, at the age of 26, 27, he has more than 50 hundreds in international cricket.
It's a big shot, a very big shot indeed from Tendulkar. 1 bounce, 4 over extra cover.
Tendulkar's popularity in India is unprecedented, but despite the enormous pressure, he retains his humility and dignity.
Back home in India, it's a little difficult to move around freely. People love the sport and the sportsmen, so it gets a little difficult. You don't have your privacy. Well, that's a price one has to pay for it. But looking at the other side of the coin, I feel, you know, it's the love and the good wishes which when you go on the ground, you have 100,000 people cheering for you, praying for your success. That it does help, and it means a lot to me.
To see the kind of pressure that Tendulkar plays under, you have to go to India and hear the noise when he's about to come out to bat, and he takes the pressure of carrying the hopes of an enormous nation, by far the biggest nation in the cricket world. And he handles it. He never lets them down. Every series, virtually every series, he gets 100.
Oh, he's like a god in this country. I mean, he's treated like a god, and he behaves like a god as well, literally, because a person with so much of expectations, with so much of pressure on his head, you never see him lose his temper. As I said, you know, like he would, if anybody wants to get photographed with him, he'll never say no.
He does seem to be someone who is humble and who loves the game. I understand that he was in Zimbabwe during the Indian tour recently, and he served as 12th man. That's not usual with someone who is a star in the team.
He is the absolute king. I mean, he rules that country, I think. He's just the love and the passion for the game of cricket in India. It's remarkable that it hasn't gone to his head. I mean, he is such a humble person, so down to earth, and again, got time for most people. I would hate to be in his shoes. Just from that side where the pressure on his time and lack of privacy in the country that he lives, it must be pure, really a test of his character. But he's come through. I've never seen him have an outburst on the field against an opponent with his own team side, amongst the public. So he's a person who really he's kept his nose really clean, and I just think he's got a good heart.
By the beginning of November 2001, Sachin Tendulkar had played in 84 test matches. In those 84 tests, he made 6,919 runs at an average of 57.18, with 25 centuries. In his first 273 one-day internationals, Tendulkar made 10,461 runs at an average of 43.41.
You've got to go by statistics to a large extent. You look at the players who have the averages over 50, and they are the greatest players, in not only statistically but in every sense of the word. And I think Tendulkar's statistics there just prove his value.
Brilliant. He's only 28, and he's just starting to work out what he's really capable of, and I think that he has an opportunity to be the first international batsman to score 100 international hundreds. He's got 50 odd now, and that would be Bradman-esque really, and perhaps that's that he's compared to Bradman, but if he could do something like that, then it would really be something special.
Charging over the top. How far has it gone? Has it gone far enough? It has, and Tendulkar has 100.
I think he's so good. I think he's got to keep on motivating himself. I would be surprised if he doesn't get to at least 15,000 runs in Test cricket. I think he should be getting at least 50 Test centuries, and maybe 75 one-day centuries. So I mean, this is what I think. This is what I am hoping that at the end of his career he would have that kind of a record.
I set myself a lot of goals, but I keep it to myself. I don't usually speak out. But it's always nice to have targets. Sometimes you reach your target, you feel happy, you want to better it. If you don't reach your target, the next time you try harder. And if you surpass your target, you want to try and score more and more runs. So eventually it boils down to scoring more and more runs the next time you go in.
Sachin has got a complete package. He's very hungry. Apart from his tremendous talent and ability, which we see every day, he is very hungry and very determined cricketer, and is one who doesn't like giving his wicket away very easily.
He's a champion player. I'm not surprised by his ability, because that's what everyone knows about it. But what makes me feel so great about him is he turns up day in, day out, and his tenacity is still the same. He wants to score runs every day. He walks out with a cricket bat, and which I think is absolutely amazing for somebody who's achieved so much.
I think there is always scope for improvement, and one is never satisfied with what you've achieved in life. You want to try and get more out of it, and that's the same case with me. I mean, I want to try and score as many runs as possible, and try and be as solid as possible and play good cricket.
Tendulkar, tremendous cricket, wonderful cricket. I would come out in my bed any time to watch him. He's great. I mean, you just look at his record. He loves playing. He loves the game. And he knows what he represents. He knows he represents his people really well, and his team, and the game of itself.
By general consensus, he is the best batsman in the game today, and is amongst the top 4 specialist bats of all time. He is cricket's most popular player, particularly on the subcontinent, and is a fine role model. Still just 28, he will surely go on to even greater achievements. But for now, we celebrate him amongst ESPN's legends of cricket.